so I preferred to keep my mouth shut and avoid as much small talk as possible, especially since she seemed like the type to bring up being a little in public. Normally, littles didn't talk about being littles in public unless that public area was a playgroup party. It kept the chances of being overheard and bullied or harassed for being littles by people in public. "So, have you met any possible daddies yet?" she asked as she looked at me. Seeing the look on my face, she tilted her head at me. "Too personal?" Taking the easy route on this touchy subject, I nodded in response. "Just a bit," I replied politely, trying not to offend her. "I prefer not to talk about that sort of thing. I've been bullied too much when people outside the playgroup find out about it all." A look of embarrassment crossed her face as she rubbed the back of her neck. "I can imagine," she commented, seeming to break away from the kind, sweet woman she usually was. "Not me, though. I see no harm in bragging about stuff like this, especially when I get to be with so many hotties." Smirking, she looked around, as if expecting somebody to pop out their head from the vents and listen in on our conversation. "Can you keep a secret?" As much as I wanted to shut her down and get back to work, I was growing more and more curious about the woman standing next to me, especially since she was acting so different from what I was used to. "Sure," I replied, trying not to sound too interested. Not seeming to catch on to the lack of interest I expressed along with my hidden curiosity, she continued. "I got laid at the last playgroup party," she whispered to me, her voice low in case the doors opened. "Right in Daddy's car, too. It was pretty hot and really exciting. I especially thought that the possibility of getting caught made it all the sexier." My jaw dropped as I stared at her in shock and disbelief. "Really?" I asked, all need to get out of the small talk disappearing as I stared at her. "Why on earth would you do that? You could get banned from the groups if you got caught." Smiling in response, she shrugged. "In my opinion, even though the daddy wasn't exactly the perfect daddy candidate, it was well worth the risk," she informed me as the elevator finally opened. "He's pretty good at what he does, and I wouldn't mind if I never found a proper daddy so long as they can go to town the way he did." Amazed by what she was saying, I shook my head in disbelief as I carried my trash out to the dumpster in the back. "You're crazy," I told her, still in shock from what she told me. "I'll admit I enjoy a good tumble in the sheets every so often, but I don't think I could risk my chances of finding a proper daddy on just a tumble." Shrugging, she threw the trash in the giant dumpster. "In all honesty, I don't know if little life is for me anyways," she replied. "After all, ever since Lionel stepped in and convinced all the daddies to follow the new rules and code of conduct, I've been losing interest for a while. The fact that so many littles are going along with it is even crazier than I expected." I was about to respond when I heard the elevator ding as we walked back into the office. Immediately, we both turned to look, and I found myself wishing I was anywhere but there. Out of the elevator stepped Dr. Victor Drew, the same man who had tried to get me to take off with him. As I tried to get over the shock of seeing him here at work, Janet leaned over to whisper in my ear. "That's him," she breathed, seeming just as shocked as I felt. "That's the guy I was telling you about." Immediately, my heart dropped as I looked from him to her and back again, wishing I was somewhere else.